Omkaram bindu samyutam nityam dhyayanti yoginaha kamadam mokshadam chaiva Omkaraya namo namaha Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachidananda Murtaye Nisprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om. Om Shanti 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 Om Peace Peace Peace. Om. So, welcome to Satsang. Andrew.
Thank you. A reflection that came up for me over the weekend that I wanted to share is just a reflection. I'm not sure what direction this will go in as I speak, but I'll see. But a reflection around the potential, basically a reflection around what happens when groups of humans come together, you know? So for example, I've been noticing in myself that I'll talk specifically about like this Sangha and you as teacher, for example. Um, I've been noticing in myself that as this group is feeling like a group, you know, there's on one side, and we spoke about it last week, like deep beauty in the sharing in the group, and you know, learning from the articulation of another's reflection that ends up articulating my own current experience or my own past experience or a question someone asks that I had or have or didn't even know that I had, or an answer that was given, or just the shared space of collective intention and love and the beauty that that brings, right? So like on one hand, there's all of that, but then I'm also noticing in myself that as as I am, I guess, as a part of myself is beginning to identify as a part of a group with a teacher, um, instead of as an individual that is coming to satsang, you know, that naturally other things are arising. One of which is sort of like, and these are things that I guess I was beyond, but perhaps not. One of them, and I'd mentioned this to you before, is that desire to be the good student or the good spiritual student or the advanced seeker, so to speak, and the identity around that, and wanting to have that, you know, wanting to always get it or know or show that, you know, I've gotten an A, so to speak, on the spiritual report card. um, Whether that is to teacher, to you, or to others in Sangha, to other participants. And also like a slight feeling of, if there are moments when I don't get it, you know, feeling of, oh, like, oh, I need to be advanced enough so that I am welcome in this sangha, which is generally quite advanced. You know, I need to keep up, so to speak. You know, that sort of fear of being left behind thing. And uh, another one being, I would say the pride of being the insider. You know, or the included. So I noticed that. I noticed it too in the Kirtan Sangha that I've become part, like a more part of in London. This sort of the specialness and pride of being the insider in a group and feeling like one of us, you know. Um, and even like it's very subtle. These things are very subtle, but even like when inviting someone, hey, join satsang, you know, like this subtle, on one hand there's this loving outreach, on another hand there's a subtle pride of like, ah yes, I have found this thing, and you know. So I'm just noticing all these things arising, and it's so also I would say like the fear of self-abandonment, you know, the fear that to start being dishonest and hiding parts of self to abandon into the group, um to be able to continue fitting into the group, you know. And it's interesting because for about 2 years prior, I was journeying mostly solo, and I had some friends dotted around, but mostly solo and reading books and doing things. And of course, I felt like a bit of a headless chicken, and I felt the need for teacher or teachers and groups. And I felt benefit anytime I was in one of those spaces. Um, but now, you know, I'm in this group, this Sangha with teacher as sort of the primary group that I'm participating in, and one or two other groups as well, and other teachers. But I'm seeing now like the perils of what maybe not the perils, but the other side of what could happen in group. So no particular question, just I wanted to share that in the space in front of everybody and as a reflection, and see if it triggers anything in you or in anybody else to share as well. Oh, can I say what? Can I say one more thing?
Please, yeah.
I should say also, like, whereas earlier on, it was easier for me to when darkness would come up, or call the lower emotions or the lower energies. In a way, when I viewed myself as spiritual novice, it was much easier to be like, oh yeah, this is coming up. I'm gonna, I feel disconnected today. But now there's this propensity to want to deny it a little bit more than before, because like, for example, yesterday I was feeling like deep, and even yesterday and this morning, I was feeling deep loneliness, deep not connected to God. Like, that whole shebang, lots of tears coming up in these things. Even the desire to like not come to Sangha, not come to Satsang, like just to like be at home and veg and couldn't call it quits for a day. But there was like slight embarrassment about it, like like a slight embarrassment, like I'm not keeping up, So I'm just sharing all that.
This is so profound. I know for a fact every single person in satsang right now is right with you. And also, my sense is that this is very subtle in you. The awareness is more present than these tendencies. And I think this is true for each one in our Sangha at present. It's very subtle. And this is good news because well, it just makes things easier than when they're not so subtle and we're really wrapped up in it. So as you say, it's a reflection, it's not a question, and I think it's absolutely perfect like that. And one thing in your reflections, each of you, on these different aspects of posture toward Sangha and Asangha, meaning, going it alone, is that each one of these angles of approach has what you might call a positive side and what you might call a negative side. And neither really, of course, but I think that's too obvious to even say, so forgive me. So, along the way, being part of Sangha and wanting to belong and wanting to be special and wanting to be in the inner circle, of course we see the egoic tendencies of attraction and aversion, of wanting to be special, but it serves a really beautiful and sacred purpose too, is it brings us to satsang. Even, we sort of joke about when we come to a group meditation and, we peek our eyes open to see how everybody's sitting, and then we adjust our posture knowing that somebody else might be viewing, and we want to be seen as, that Krishna Priya just straightened out just now. Busted.
As a reminder.
But it's good because now whatever the motivation is, we're improving our posture, we're improving our approach, we're coming, we're participating. And so it has a positive benefit. And all of these things, as long as you're able to hold them in the loving awareness that you expressed this so beautifully and how you articulated it, that you're aware of it and you're holding space for it in yourself, is they'll fall away. They'll fall away. And you'll see the benefit and the cost of each of these things and see them in their proper place. When it comes to Sangha, the most important thing is just showing up as we are. Exactly as we are. in community, I think it's understandable. And let me just make a distinction between community and Sangha here, because it's so often confused. In community, it's understandable that there's competition and strategies to, for reputation and some perks. That there's pretending and there's hiding and all of these things. In Sangha, it doesn't make any sense. We can all just come as we are, completely honest, as you just did, and modeled so really beautifully for us. Was it on Friday or last Wednesday? I don't remember. Some recent satsang, we were talking about how there's this persistent attitude of the egoic sense of seeker that thinks that there's a checklist of improvements in order to qualify to enter the kingdom, to enter heaven, to enter satsang. We think we couldn't possibly come as we are. But really, truly, the whole point of Sangha is that we can come as we are. Must, in fact. To do otherwise, it's a bit like, Sangha's a bit like, if you come to Sangha with a pretense, it's a bit like going to your therapist and lying, And I'll tell you, this group, very much the way it is now, there isn't a single person who would judge anybody else for coming sincerely exactly as they are, fully flawed, like all of us. This is a place where we can come without pretending. When we were back in Virginia, there was some, maybe it was Muji's birthday celebration or something like this. And we were watching on Zoom in Bhajan Kutir. And we were having our own satsang as part of Muji's online satsang. It was so beautiful. It was an incredible moment, wasn't it? And his probably lead disciple, she's called Shri, and she's been there as long as I've seen, and she kind of runs the show from what I can tell. For so many years she's been there. And she shared, Gurudev, why am I so afraid of you? And there was this exploration of all of these things of wanting to be in a particular way in Sangha, wanting to be seen in a particular way, wanting to qualify. So all of this arises from fear of rejection. And all of our strategies to be loved arise out of this fear. Sangha must be a place, and we must be the ones to maintain this for each other, where you can come fully afraid. This is the process of becoming self-aware, seeing the subtleties of attraction, aversion, pretending and hiding, seeing these things, coming anyway, offering it up like you just did, And then through Sangha, one becomes Asangha, means independently happy. Having been validated and daring into the risk of, let's just say, rejection here, a bit of a trust fall, right? And then one does eventually become Asangha. This one now is the center of Sangha itself. Asangha is also Sangha. I don't know how to say it differently. It's not coming in a way that's more clear than this. And the one who comes to Sangha is an anchor. Each one of you will do this in different moments. And when we achieve this, Asangha, it is the most intimate, personal, it is the most bhakti experience. It is the most devotional expression from this place of Asangha. And wherever this one is home. Home means no need to pretend. You know, like you come home from work and then you loosen your tie. You unbutton the top button on your pants. You change into comfortable clothes. You sigh of relief because you no longer have any sort of identity to uphold to the world. You can be as you are. Come to Sangha this way. This is your home. Your family, like this. You know, and as you were saying, that I think is so profound, there's a cohesiveness, a coherence has formed in this group. A sort of interwoven resonance. And when Andrew shares something, it's for everybody. And oftentimes what comes in response from me isn't directly to the questioner, but to the question itself that somehow is being harbored in someone else's experience. Sometimes it'll feel like the response doesn't really meet the question. But it works. It has its way of working. Probably some of you have experienced this already. And this has been the topic for some recent satsangs, and it's my great joy that something like this can blossom. And what's so spectacular too is it's happening over the internet for the most part. A few of us have been talking about, won't it be marvelous when we can all just get together at some point, somewhere. Lots of thumbs up. Yeah, I think I would enjoy that also very much. And this is something that happens as we go through the process of awakening. The experience of the interconnectedness becomes direct and visceral. And so this is naturally what would happen. This one that is awakening will find satsang and sangha, and there'll be a resonance, And you'll see, there will be some who come who are ready, but this isn't the right flavor, So many flavors. Yeah. Is that okay, Andrew? Is there something more that I should talk to, these reflections? I know you weren't asking a question, but Andrew or anyone,
I guess I'm just going to continue on the thread because I'm sensing something. But two things. One thing I would say, and you've spoken about this a lot, is like part of it is like the frustration, which is like I have seen these things already in my own awareness, yet it's persisting, and yet it's persisting so strongly for so long. Like the judge not lest he be judged. I've seen it in my own awareness that the one casting the stone is hitting himself on the back of his head. Yet still there's like a cynicism and condescension that comes up, you know. Like small things, like say a friend has a realization that I've already had, and it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like even if I don't say it in my mind, and I'm like, why? And then I can see it, the same one who doesn't want to come to satsang and is afraid to share when he is having an experience that he perceives as inferior, is the same one that wants to share when he's having an experience that he perceives as superior. I'm seeing the whole thing, but it's like, yesterday what it kept coming to me is like, no way out, no way out. Like, how do I get out of this thing? It's just so persistent for so long. I mean, if I think 2 years ago to now, okay, it's greatly reduced now, but I mean, I think that's one thing that's coming to me, is like the frustration at the persistence of the thing. Um, and the second thing, and this is a lot less clear, but like the 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 need for belonging, perhaps, or the insider outsider thing. Um, I have okay, like I have noticed in myself, and this one has been super persistent, and I thought that I got rid of it, or I thought that it left me like after India, and it evaporated, but like it has descended back into my head. It's almost like my consciousness is lowered a bit, and it's like back in now. But there are particular people in my life. I won't name them, but my mind latches onto them as it's not about them, it's about like the archetype or a thing that they represent. And then the mind starts fantasizing. Basically, it's a person who my mind perceives as uh, a spiritual or spiritually advanced person who is preaching falsehood, is the way my mind perceives it. And the fantasy is the need for me to correct them in some sort of like frustrated or angry way. But what I've but like where we all these people that my mind projects onto are people who I love and I'm close to as well, and who love me. So uh it's what it feels like I'm getting to is the root of this is a feeling as though the truth that they're espousing is excluding me or denying me. It feels like a belonging, an exclusion thing. And there's a part of me that's like the little kid that's being excluded by what they're saying. But then perhaps maybe I'm doing the same thing to them. I don't know. It's this particular one is particularly frustrating for me, because it's like I know that it's coming from a place of not kindness and compassion and love, a place of I'm right and you're wrong, you know. Yet it persists and persists and persists and persists and persists. you know. I just don't know what to do with it.
Yes. it persists, and it persists. We think, well, I've seen it, I've seen through it. Huh? Why would it persist? And it does. It's very likely this will persist for years. Yeah. Uh-huh. I feel you feeling that. Each one eventually comes to a place of nothing to sell and nothing to buy, you know? And when you come to that place, everything that is buying and selling becomes so apparent. You know, it's right on the precipice of transcending a particular thing that you see it all in its clarity, and it invites you in such a strong way. It's one of the, and so the habit will be to correct, to debate, you know, to engage in this way. And, you know, as Jonathan demonstrated so beautifully, there can be just an intention that invites a different kind of experience. But even this isn't truly required. It's nice, but when we come to the intersection where we're about to make a choice to move into a different level of conscious awareness, of acceptance, the world will throw a storm our way. Sometimes subtle, you know, sometimes fierce. And it's not a test. I've never liked this analogy. It's more like, you've been liking this for so long. Are you sure you're ready to move on? You know? The universe wants to love us so much. And we've loved the drama for so long, the debate, the conflict, all of it. And so are you sure? Because this is what you're missing out on. And all of the conflicts are there to expose what remains in us that can still be agitated. And in seeing it, now we can offer this up also. My question was, what is it like if these things persist for some years? You see, because I pose it to you this way, to come right to the heart of the frustration and the dread of that, so that you can find a place that you soften around it, you know? I can be okay with that. These habits of mind and emotion may persist, but I can be the very container that allows for all of that to happen in my internal landscape. And now it won't take years. But it'll take years. These habits have an incredible momentum to them. Like a ship can't stop on a dime. A train can't stop on a dime. It has a momentum. You know? These are orbits of memory. Earth won't stop orbiting the sun. Huh? But when you shift your perspective, the gravity has a different sensation when you're not the one bound in it. You're looking from a different vantage point, you see. You see, first, we don't conquer thought and we don't conquer emotion, we don't conquer habits. First, we become totally okay with them. Then and only then will they begin to dissipate, to dissolve. Your job in this is to hold it in conscious awareness, your habits. This conscious awareness is most effective when you're totally okay with what's happening in you. Our job isn't to conquer mind. It's not possible, actually. Like they say, you can't cut a knife with a knife. It's not possible for the mind to conquer mind. But what you can do is you can take the posture of all of it's okay. And the moment you do this, everything will quicken. So much will release. And the quickening happens. It comes in, soften, and allow. Allow the habits to persist. This doesn't mean indulge them, but resistance to them also is the same. This has the same effect on feeding the momentum, you see. So I think this is a very helpful exercise, is to imagine this is going to be with me for 3 years. This will be with me for 7 years. And in this, you'll have to find a way to get comfortable with it. And once you find that way to be comfortable with it, to be totally okay with it not being okay, you see, then things will begin to flow. And everything that you've brought to us, both of you, is conscious awareness of the habits. I really genuinely think that this is at least 90% of the work. That conscious awareness has its own effect on our habits. Without trying, it dissolves them. It may take longer than we like, but holding ourselves in our conscious awareness, this is the sort of the slip space. Where one would experience of it being done for me. You will experience this as it's now being done for you. But you yourself are simply surrendering to what is, what you are, as you are in that moment. It's so powerful. I hope you can hear it, because really this is the linchpin to your awakening. Andrew, you had your hand raised.
Oh man, you saw that for a brief second. Yeah. I wanted you to finish talking before I jumped in. I have so many questions lately that I don't ask anything, and I just pray that somebody else is going to bring whatever is on my mind to say satsang. And this question of persistence is totally in line with one of the biggest concerns that I have at the moment. I've spoken before about, at some point, maybe 3 years ago, spontaneously entering this state where nothing mattered because my peace was so great that nothing could touch it. And recently, over the past few days, I've sort of, I've had this sort of vision. It's not really a vision, more of like an insight into maybe a more accurate um, way to view reality. I don't know if it's a concept that I'm coming up with or if it's truly an insight, but something arises where it's like I'll have one foot in this reality where there aren't individual beings, there's just one being. And within this one being, many phenomena occur, one of which is thinking, thought processes. And it just so happens that these thought processes are apparent to people. And the one being loses itself in thought, forgets that it's the one, and takes those thoughts to be the truth, and therefore forgets itself. And thus you have the one thinking that it is the many. And so firstly, I don't know if this is just a concept that I'm coming up with in my mind or if it is truly some sort of insight, but I've noticed that regarding this question of persistence of habits, and also reflecting on this experience I had several years ago where my peace was so great that such things like these habits didn't even matter. When I have one foot in this other reality, I call it, where it's very apparent that there's really only just one being, it's recognized that the thoughts or the habits of the body and the mind don't matter at all. That the resistance that I have been experiencing towards them and the frustration is more like just kind of an addiction to resistance, and that falls away. I mean, that's just one way of looking at it, I suppose, but the resistance can fall away, and it can feel truly deeply feel that these patterns don't matter. They're in the periphery. Again, when I have one foot in this reality, as I'm calling it, they don't even matter. They're in the periphery, and simultaneously there's no reason why when that identity shift occurs from believing one's an individual to the totality, there's no reason why those habits would stop. That they could or they would continue, and they may not continue. And it just, again, it doesn't matter. So I'm putting this out there sort of as a question of, it seems to me that one can sort of awake to the have that shift in identity occur, and release the resistance to all of these patterns, and yet they, what am I trying to say? I'm having trouble saying it. That there's this idea, here it is. There's this idea that they have to stop for you to be at peace. And I've seen in my experience that actually isn't true at all. It has no truth to it. That the question is, can one truly be at complete peace with them such that there's no pulling or pushing on them, even years before they fall away? Like many years. complete peace.
Yes. Yes. It's the experience of total acceptance. The whole thing, all of the habits have been fueled over eons by attraction and aversion. Imagine attraction as the gas pedal and aversion as the brake. But when you hit the brake, not only does the brake fail, it's also an accelerator. So all of this is simply a car out of control. And if there's no brake, if there's only accelerator A and accelerator B, then you simply stop accelerating. And then the car will take its time. To come to a stop. There's something very tricky that happens. I mean, of course, what you're saying, it is a concept, but it's a very potent one. All of this mind arises from the I am thought, bindu, the drop in the pool that creates all minds, all time and space. I am is the point of departure from one without a second to 10,000 things. And this is the great mystery. How does Bindu lose itself and think itself to be one of the waves? How does it think it's the effect and forgot the cause? It's not even right. It's before even that. But this is the mystery. And anyway, I think it's above my pay grade. There's a peril in this concept that I want you to watch very carefully for, and it's inevitable. And this is that you will say, I am that Brahman. The thought will come, I'm that. And after all, doesn't it say, I am that I am, tattvamasi? Well, with the ego, watch, you'll see, it's really wonderful. It claims it, it co-opts it. The ego is so subtle and so fast, so cunning, and it claims it. And it's not a problem, because trouble will ensue, and correction will come. The one who can rightfully claim this claims it before thought, and so doesn't claim it at all. You see? It could never be spoken. And so watch for this, because it happens, and this is spiritual identity, even well before, Aham Brahmasmi, you know. But the concept itself, if you marinate in it, let's say, don't speak from there, don't move from there, don't claim or reject anything. Just watch. Just be in it. Be still. Keep quiet. Be still means you watch very carefully for the subtle movements of mind, attraction and aversion. Subtle, subtle, subtle. It becomes so subtle. It's the slightest hair width distance away from I into some touching. Just a hair's width distance of movement of mind triggers 10,000 things. Talk about triggered. So when you come to this, marinating in this conception, a very powerful, sacred concept, keep still, keep quiet. Abide there. And when you come to see that you've shifted out, that you've touched, you've moved toward or away, come back. Stitch it right back in, so gently. And return to the stillness and the silence. This stillness and silence, in the beginning, it seems so small. As you sit with it, it grows, 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 like this. And then the habits, the so-called problems and the strategies to resolve the problems, they become small in the expanded silence and stillness. Huh? Imagine that. This is very good use of imagination. Imagine that. The stillness and the quiet is so tiny and so delicate at first, isn't it? The slightest thing will interrupt it. But more and more, you sit in that teeny tiny space and the fragility of that space, and you allow for it. It expands. And all of your problems and all of your strategies of problem solving, let them remain, but they are well contained in the refuge that you are as the awareness of them. Tempest in a teapot. What was a whale, a leviathan, is now just a tadpole. But this is your direct experience of it. The concept can lead you there. truly, 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 the only practice you need is soften and allow. Imagine now, just for a moment, what would it be like? Huh? If you were in total full acceptance of your own self, all of your foibles, all of your strategies, failed strategies, successful strategies, every success and failure you've ever had. Imagine now those thoughts that come back, that sneak up on you out of nowhere, that make you cringe about something you did or somebody did something to you. Imagine now that you don't cringe and you're just like, oh, there was that. And all you have for your own self is a loving compassion. Imagine you could look at your own self like a proud parent looks upon their child at a singing bee who's so off key. And it's not like, their ears don't work. They know it's off key. They know it sounds horrible. But there's just such overwhelming love for the courage, for the just, I love that child so much for being up there and doing their best. You can, and you will feel this way about yourself. That doesn't slip into indulgence. That doesn't give us, this tacit permission to continue to be active, indulging our habits. In fact, this loving acceptance is actually the very thing that will allow the habits themselves to dissipate. And that the judgment of them is fuel for them to continue. It's so completely opposite from how we thought it was. How so many people around you still think it is. And as I always say, let them. Let them. Soften and allow. So with this posture of being the expansive stillness and silence around which the me, the strategies, the problems, the dramas, they could continue 20 years. You now are the theater. You identify as theater, let's say. And the drama is on your stage, and the characters are on your stage. Even you see, you also are one of the characters, and the others. And you experience these things in a simultaneity. In the now moment, all of them are present and true. And just like you were saying, when you have one leg in it, you have so many legs and so many different postures of awareness. And now you learn to dance. Yeah. In one moment, you're the character. In another moment, you're the actor playing the character. In another moment, you're writing the script, collaborating with the script writing. In another moment, you're just doing an improv as an actor, Another moment, you're the theater. You dance. What are you? What are you not? You see, where are you looking from? This is the question. Where are you looking from? When we're looking identified as the character, we're obligated to the script. You see? It's very confining, not comfortable. Identifying as the actor, now you can start to play a little bit, right? You can play with the script a little bit, do a little improv. What about the audience? Maybe just sit there for a while. Fill your mala bag with popcorn and just sit in the audience. Watch. Because the egoic identity driven by fear is in the script of character, and it feels so oppressive and limiting, because it is. But simultaneous to that moment, you are all the other things also. It's already true. How does the character in a book jump up out of the page? It doesn't. The character doesn't wake up. The character doesn't write a new script to improve its strategies for how it gets along with the other characters in the next chapter. Or the character that you were, that stole your name and in your dream last night, a total identity theft, a fraud, running around in your mind as a character called you. Does that character ever wake up? No. At best, it can become aware that it's in a dream, right? They call this lucid, yes? Well, anyway, this is how it is. This is what's already true for you in this moment, right now. And so it's just a shift from where you're looking. This is why Ramana Maharshi always asked, who's asking? Who's the questioner? Who's the experiencer? Because when you turn to find that one, well, you just have to see. I heard it said recently, I don't know who it's attributed to, but I went looking for God and found only myself. And then I went looking for myself and I found God. This is how it is. And so the things that you've been sharing this morning, it's that finding. It's an expose on habits. A loving recognition. And so ask, what if this is actually not just some gibberish? Huh? What if there's something to it? What if? Huh? And you brought up something really profound, a profound recognition that there is an addiction to, you called resistance. This addiction actually is to suffering itself. This isn't the condemnation, and don't you also condemn yourself for it. This is finding the seed of the predicament. So it's a great success to see this. It's the funniest thing because the seeker seeking freedom doesn't actually want to be free. It's a total charade. It's a useful charade. Continue with all of your might. Continue seeking. You see, this is what we call what I know. This is what we call familiar. It is bondage. The character in the dream, the character in the book, more precisely, the character in the book feels at home in the script. Feels comfortable. Knows the script. Bound to being bound. Satnam, did you have something? Take all of this and put it at the center of your expansive silence and stillness. Put it right in the center of your peace and love. Put the whole world in its dramas. You know, you've probably heard it, when an astronaut goes into space and they can see Earth from there, something shifts in their psyche. It's almost to a one that, as I understand it, that they see all of this conflict on Earth as completely absurd. It becomes clear somehow in the mind that we occupy the same space, and that anything but a total abiding love and compassion for each other is completely absurd. So you only seem to make a transit in where you are looking from. The world didn't change for the astronaut. But even a giant plume from a bomb would just seem so minuscule. It doesn't diminish the suffering. You're just looking from a different place. So zoom out. Not as an aversion, not beam me up. Huh? Huh? Right? Huh? Just to see what it looks like from there. Zoom out. Not as a condemnation. Truly from there, you will see yourself waking up, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, getting dressed, starting your day simultaneously. Two birds in a tree. Yeah. Bird on the higher branch just is watching. Bird on the lower branch engaged. Building nests. There's nothing wrong with any place of looking, but truly, this is better. It's better. Zoom out. Home. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you, love you, love you. Om. If there's one thing, if there's one thing to take from any of these satsangs, know this. This is possible for you in this lifetime. This is beyond the poetry. This is what we want for each other in this Sangha. For each other also. There's something so funny that is so transforming in Sangha. It is that when one occupies the place where genuinely can celebrate another's success, another's victory, that envy actually now becomes a fuel for you, for your own success. When we can, what we could say, it's still envy. Maybe it's not quite right, but it's a celebration of envy, of, I'm so glad. Something really important shifts. And I want you to know this. When you see another's success and you celebrate it, you are soon to follow. I haven't heard anybody else teach this or say this, but I know it to be true. That the common expression of envy is a limitation of our own selves. This is our Sangha. This is how we're doing it, yeah? Well, anyone's single success is the total success of all of us. You see? It's actually true. The world has this completely backwards. Maybe sometime, if you remind me, I can tell you the story of how I came to know this as a fact, of how it actually works. Another time. Something beautiful is happening here. I'm so humbled and grateful to be a part of it. I love you all so much. Thank you, thank you. You want to know what thought just came? Nataraj, don't screw it up. I think I even just blushed a little. How wonderful. So me too, let me not pretend anything. Okay.